we're very fortunate that we'll have our president and leader, Susie Novastory, is going to speak to us about her incredible expertise in caregiving. And Robin Tuohy is going to join her, so please welcome them.
Hello, how's everybody? Robin and I are both caregivers, and I know that there are a lot of people in the room like us who are caregivers. So would the caregivers just please either raise your hand or stand up? All right, everybody give them a big round of applause. Caregivers are probably the most important part of the team. We call it a team, but a caregiver does an amazing, amazing job. And for so many of us, we're kind of like thrown into this role of being a caregiver without any real experience. I mean, I have dogs. Taking care of 2 dogs I don't really think is the same thing as taking care of, your loved one, although I do love my dogs and my husband. So what Robin and I are here to do today is just talk to you a little bit about our experience, and we want to know about your experience, some of the challenges that you're having, some of the successes that you're having. Getting through life with myeloma is not always easy. And so we want to make sure that as caregivers, we don't become so stressed that something health-wise can go wrong with us. So what is a caregiver, Robin?
Well, obviously, you're a crucial part of the team. And I think sometimes the hardest part is knowing when to push and knowing when to kind of hold back, right? Pick your battles sometimes, because I feel like we're the ones trying to make sure everything is going to be okay. We're going to take care of them. We're going to prepare the questions when we go to the meetings. We're going to make sure they're doing all the things they want to do. I remember Susie one time calling us. I live in Connecticut, and Michael was on the roof chipping the ice off of the roof. And I said, Susie, I picked not to fight that battle.
Even though, of course, Michael, her husband, has myeloma.
Right. 18 years in the back. So 18 years I've been a caregiver, and Michael's been a survivor. And after high-dose Dex, we are still married. It's a good thing. But I think picking and choosing your battles, and also being the person that when they go to the doctor, you need to be prepared a little bit, do a little bit of homework, and have those questions ready, and make sure that the doctors know you are an informed caregiver, and you want to be part of this shared decision-making.
Exactly. So it's hard to figure out how I can be an effective caregiver when you have all this stuff going on around you. So I think the most important thing is never be afraid to ask for help. And I'm sure that many of you have had somebody come up to you and say, hey, what can I do to help? And you're thinking, oh my God, it's so many things, I can't even think of one. So I know that one of our caregivers, she decided to, and this was before the internet really exploded, but she used to make a list of things that needed to be done. Take the dog to the vet, whatever, mow the lawn. And she put it someplace in her house, and her neighbors would come over and they'd look at the list and say, oh, I can do that, I can do that. Little things like that can make a difference in your life, give you that time to just, I think every caregiver right now, just take a deep breath. What do you think, Rob? How to be an effective caregiver?
Yeah, well, the number 2, effectively manage your time. So just like our loved ones that have myeloma weren't prepared to have myeloma, we weren't prepared to be the caregiver. And so our time was pretty busy before our loved one had myeloma. And thinking about those people that can help you, and we shouldn't be mad at the people that we maybe thought would help us and fall off the wayside, but reaching out to different people in the community. And I think one of those things is don't be afraid to ask for help, but don't be afraid to take the help. How many times do we have friends say, oh, what can I do for you? And we go, oh, no, we're good. We just have to learn.
How many people have said that when they didn't really mean it?
No, we're good.
I see a couple of hands. I know that mine would have been way up there.
Yeah. Just take it because what I heard, somebody that offered said, Robin, this is my way of doing something to be part of helping you. And if you don't give me the opportunity to help, then I feel bad because I'm not doing something. So think of it that way. You're not taking something, you're letting them give something.
And sometimes that step is just going to be a little baby step, but at least it's a step. And just, take your time one day at a time. This is always where people kind of start squabbling with the doctor appointment. How many of you really do write down questions before you go to the doctor to make sure that? Okay, a lot. Good. That's excellent, because when you get in there, I know that times have changed so much, and the doctor visit is no longer as long as it used to be, and you have such limited time. So maybe, how many people send in their questions prior so the doctor can be thinking about it? Anybody doing that? Good. That's a good idea. And also, the nurses, as I'm sure Kathy would tell you, the nurses are a good one to go through. Send it to the nurse if you're having a relationship with that person, and then that way the doctor, when he comes in to, for your appointment, I can't see you, you can make the most out of your visit. And also, I'm married to a doctor. I know that sounds strange. So I can tell you, don't be afraid to ask the doctor questions, okay? He or she works for you. That's true.
Yeah. And here's one thing I've learned. Find out from your doctor what's the best mode of communication for your doctor, because they all have their iPhones or whatever right now. And sometimes, Blackberries. So sometimes you can send a question to them and they might get it really quickly and be able to answer you before you get into the appointment, or they're more prepared for you when you get in there and you have your time.
And don't be afraid to challenge the doctor. And also, if your doctor is just not, you and your doctor just are not meshing, don't be afraid to fire that doctor and get another one. It's your life and it matters. Don't be afraid. It's complicated stuff. Now, I don't know if you can read this, but the woman there says she's at the table and it's reading charts. When you get your paperwork and your charts and everything, it's really, really, really complicated. How many people here actually understand those? Do you see any hands, Robin? Oh, over this is a very smart table. Yeah. That table's, or everybody in the room, go to see these people later. No, it is very, very complicated. And again, don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to take a little tape recorder in. Don't be afraid, or your phone. Don't be afraid to write it down. And don't be afraid to really, be the pain in the neck with the doctor, because it's about your life, and you matter.
And a resource for you there to understand your labs. On the IMF website, if you go on to IMF TV, how many of you gone there to watch IMF TV? It's filled with really important key videos and Ask Dr. Durie questions. And there's things on how to understand your labs and all these really complex tests. So utilize those things.
So we were just talking about, the doctor appointment. And do you bring your iPads in? People? Some of you? Again, it's really, really, really important. It's also important to track your numbers and to keep record of the numbers and get copies of them. And then, as Robin will probably attest to, making really good friends with the nurse.
Absolutely.
Is very important. They're the link between you and the doctor. So at home, Robin, what do you do?
Well, I guess it depends, because we know myeloma is like this. It's a really long roller coaster. And sometimes when that roller coaster is rough at home, Susie, right, the cobwebs in the corners, let them go. You just don't have time to go dusting those cobwebs in the corners. You have to if you have young children at home, you're busy taking care of the kids, getting them off to school, getting their homework done, and then, taking care of your loved one and watching schedules. So prioritize things, but give yourself a break, especially when it comes to some of the things that it really doesn't matter. Put your blinders on, right? And just whatever matters most, that's what you keep in the forefront. And those other little things, they'll eventually get done.
Let it go. Yeah. Robin and I do the Caregivers Need Care too at these seminars. And one of the things that we hear over and over again is just how exhausted the caregiver is in trying to find the time to do everything that he or she has on their plate. So that's when making a list or talking to your neighbors or your relatives, if you still like them, and having them come in and do some of the things that would really give you a break, so that you're not constantly running like that little, hamster in the wheel. And make you don't have to turn your home into a hospital. Keep it friendly, and just every day, just find, even if it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, just someplace where you can go and just relax. Lock the door. So, Robin?
So sometimes it's not always easy, and I think sometimes as a caregiver when people say, oh, you're so strong, and inside you're feeling like, if you only knew, I'm exhausted. Because, you know, it's one thing for people to say, oh, stay positive. But okay, I can try and be positive, but some days it's rough. And when it is rough, I feel like you should just do something that is important to you. And maybe as a family, we used to sit down, and remember the Scooby-Doo cartoon? Makes everybody laugh. Our kids were young, and we would just sit together and watch Scooby-Doo, and then I would be feeling more positive again.
Yep.
So whatever that is for you, to get you back in a mood where you're feeling empowered, because that word is a really big, important word, because when you're feeling strong, I loved Yalak's picture up there of, the kitty or the lion.
Oh.
Put that picture in your head. Be the lion, especially when you have to be the lion, right?
And really, you have to take good care of yourself. Being a caregiver, and I'm emphasizing this again and again because so many people don't. And we've had people who their loved one, wound up having medical issues of their own, and we don't want that to happen to anybody. So the other thing that we also face is when all of a sudden the people that you thought were your closest friends kind of become not so close anymore. They're too busy to come over. You don't really get together with them any longer. And I know from my own personal experience that was very, very, I was brokenhearted. But then people that I never thought would step up to the plate did. And so you might lose some friends, but you might get amazing new friends and people that really can understand what's going on and can help you.
This group of people, you're all going to go to dinner tonight, right? They're friends now. Exchange phone numbers, get to know each other. Most of you are from Florida, right?
I think it's also clergy, time to find religion. I don't need to say any more about that. I think everybody gets that. But also, there's people out there. When my late husband, Brian Novus, was really ill, I went to see a psychiatrist, and I never stopped. I mean, she really saved my life. And so don't be afraid, psychiatrist, psychologist, or a friendly bartender, that's allowed too. But you need someone to go to that you can talk about, what your challenges are, what you're feeling, that that you can trust, and it's not going to wind up in the town gazette. Another good place to call is
Absolutely the info line. When Michael was first diagnosed,
You were right,
when Michael and I, when myeloma came into our lives, when we called the hotline, we really felt like there's a real person on the other end, and they cared, and they listened, and they pointed us to resources and questions to ask, and where to go and what to do, but they really just made me feel like it's going to be okay. And I think that sometimes is more important than reading a lot on the internet.
Right. So I'm Jewish, so I always overreact. But it's not good. So, see, you're laughing. That's good. No, you just have to just calm down. Take a deep breath. Let it out. They're not having a heart attack. You have time to get everything together. And as I always say, knowledge is power. And once you become empowered and you know about myeloma, or you know about people that you can rely on, or you know what's coming up next, it really takes a lot of burden off of yourself. So Robin, you've been in this a long time. What are some of the things that you do that when you say, okay, I shouldn't overreact?
Well, I'm Catholic, and I have the guilt and the overreaction too, but I think that looking at each other and becoming a team with each other, I think to me, that gave us the most strength, because you really can be honest with each other because you're living the life together. And it doesn't help you if you're keeping things inside and bottled up, because it's probably bothering the other one too. So if you can talk about it, I think it makes you stronger.
I totally agree with that. So time management, it's a challenge to everybody, whether you have myeloma or you don't have myeloma. Time management, especially today, we have all these new things that's supposed to make our lives easier. It's made them a lot more complicated. But lists are your friends. So, make a list. You don't have to do it all in one day. You know, focus on the one or two things that really need to get done that day, and then do it. And prioritize what are the most important things that you have to do. And what else should you do?
So, you know, a tip that I've learned, because our kids are now growing, but when they were they're growing and they're grown. But when they were in high school, a lot of these high school kids have to put in community service hours. So we live in Connecticut, and I would call the high school and I would say, do you have any kids that need to put in some hours? They can come to help rake or shovel or take out the garbage. So there are resources. Call your schools to see, do kids need any community service hours to help you?
Oh, that's a really good idea. So, caring for yourself. The first step to being a good caregiver is taking good care of yourself. And I know that many people in the room right now are thinking, oh yeah, sure. She doesn't have any idea what I'm going through, what I'm up against. But your physical well-being, your mental well-being, and your spiritual well-being is really important. Even if it's 10 minutes a day or 15 minutes a day, find time to do something. It might just be doing nothing, just sitting there and listening to the birds chirp or staring at a wall. It doesn't matter. Just find time to let yourself calm down. So, and sometimes, Robin, what do you have to do?
We just need a
Hug. So thank you very much. Robin and I are around if you want to talk, share, whatever. But in the meantime, to all the caregivers, anybody have any thoughts or something they want to share with? Okay, guess what? Oh, we have somebody?
Gentleman over there, right next to Kelly.
Oh, right next to Kelly.
Your comment about high school students getting assistance was very well taken. You can combine that, though, in a way and increase myeloma awareness. The students at my medical school are required to have community service hours.
Oh,
So that would be a way for them to learn more about myeloma before they even become physicians.
that's a great suggestion. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, yeah?
Hi, it's great. I'm so glad I came down. The lessons that I learned as I look back through my journey with myeloma was trust God, ask for help, and not be so private.
Okay, that's very good.
Suzanne?
Any other questions? Anybody have any
else have
other
a question or a comment?
Okay.
All right, thank you very much, and please don't hesitate to call me at the IMF or call the info line. Stay in touch, and you are free now to stretch, and we'll see you later.